Hi and welcome back to Warframe. Today I thought we'll take a look at the Soma, because the Soma used to be the best weapon. Everybody had the Soma. Everybody was using the Soma. It's kind of faded away and nobody really knows why. I mean, people keep telling us they've nerfed it, they've buffed it and all the rest of it, and looking at the stats, it's pretty much the same as they were all that time ago. When this first, come on, it was Update 10, update 10.5, this weapon was introduced. And that's not the normal skin, that's the wrong skin. We'll change that in a second. The stats for this thing were bad. When it first came out and I seen it, I thought, ew. I mean, it's got 5 slash, 4 puncture, 1 impact. That is probably the lowest stats of any other weapon. But it has a crit multiplier of 3 and a crit chance of 30. Accuracy was never that good with this anyway. The status effect wasn't that good, the reload could have been better, but the magazine was 100, so this thing became a crit beast. As you can see from the stats here, when it's modded, it had a crit chance of 75%. You can actually take that higher. So, fully maxed, I don't know why anybody would want to do this though, because that kind of ruins the fire rate. I mean, theoretically, you could counter that by throwing a speed trigger in there that'll add 60%, but the crit chance only takes, the critical delay even, only takes away 36%, so it'll actually fire quicker than it was before. But this build right there, that works ridiculously well against all factions, and if you're just going to run around with the weapon without changing anything and jump from faction to faction, that kind of works because it's got a crit chance of, well, 89.4. It's close enough to 90. And the crit multiplier of 8.4. But it's still only doing high 30s on the slash, very low 30s on the puncture, and 7 on the impact. So it works, but it doesn't at the same time. It's fine until you get to the higher level stuff. Then having that in there starts to show its weaknesses. This build, on the other hand, works really well against the Grineer. It's got 114 radiation damage from the heat mod and the electrical mod. Of course, that would be better as Stormbringer, but if you want to fit Stormbringer, it will need a dash polarity over here. And it would literally just need that polarity for this build. It would work for the Corpus as well, because that's kind of 1 point short, but we'll get to that. The rest of the mods are going to be the same on all the builds. It's basically, heavy caliber, serration, split chamber, vital sense for the crit damage, point strike for the crit chance, and hammer shot for extra crit damage. And this will take this weapon to 8.4 multiplier for the crit, and 75% chance to actually do that crit. I mean, 8 times is a lot, which is why the fact that this only gives 114 radiation damage doesn't matter much, because almost every shot out of this thing is going to be orange, and it's a mad little weapon. Against the Corpus, it's better with, there's Stormbringer showing its ugly little face, and cryo rounds, which makes magnetic damage, and this worked so well on that cold fusion. I said fusion again. The cold revenge tactical alerts, that is the only reason we're actually doing this weapon again, because it used to be popular, but it kind of faded away. But I really wish I'd recorded some of that. The endurance, I think it was the 4th mission node that unlocked to get to 30 points for the badge. The flying enemies were hovering high 70s, sometimes they were level 80 plus, but it was low 80s, and I was using the Ogress with a magnetic build on it, but I kept killing myself, so I was looking for something with low damage to start with, but I'll be able to mod up, and I just stumbled across the Soma and thought that'll work, and it did work so goddamn well. Hence, I really wish I'd recorded some of that, because okay, it was still taking a fair few rounds to kill them, but with one clip I could take out 2 of the flying birds. You just can't hold the trigger in and unload the entire clip into one of them because you'll miss with most of the rounds. Not that that's relevant anymore, considering that it's a tactical thing that's been gone and done with on the PC, and it's still to come on the consoles. Unless you're watching this that's already been on the consoles, in which case that information was completely and utterly useless. Unless you'd want to do... Anyway, this is the infested build, and it's basically Hellfire and Malignant Force. Malignant Force is fine, everybody can get this one, whereas the high voltage, kind of a pain in the ass. You can get it, but it is a huge pain. Hopefully it will be in the game very, very shortly. It's actually running a bit late. Everybody expected it to show its ugly little head with update 15, and it didn't. It's running very late because Malignant Force was the same thing. It was an event mod that was added in I think it was update 14 when Captain Vor found himself in the void. It wasn't an entire update later between getting the toxin mod and the electrical one, I don't think. Was it the electrical one that came first? Yeah. Toxin? Electric. Anyway, I will get very distracted there, so we'll carry on. This worked really well because the status with the hammer shot, them two mods there are actually what made this useful, because it was 25% on the status with 114 gas damage. Oh, this thing against the corpse, the infected, was so useful. It's just a damn shame it runs out of ammo so quick. If you take off the elemental stuff and throw the other mods back on, it's good, but it starts to suffer really badly. The elemental stuff increased the usability of this weapon a hell of a lot, because I originally, way back, said I would never do these kind of builds. I prefer to have one build on my weapon and it have it own all factions than to swap. I mean, that's why the A, B and C are there. Hopefully when this new faction comes out there will be a D, so we can have all four factions with their own little config. But I think that'll come much later on, because they have been talking about a fourth faction turning up for quite a while now. But that has absolutely nothing to do with this weapon at the minute, because they don't exist. Yet. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.